Hi, I'm Adam Jennings, and this is Awaiting Approval, a podcast about the messy human side of creative leadership. Today, I'm joined by Dan Onufrishyn, Director of the Creative Leadership Program at Miami Ad School, for a relaxed, two-way conversation about his journey, the lessons he's learned, and what it takes to lead with creativity and honesty. Dan, hi, welcome to the show.
No, thank you so much, Adam. I'm really thrilled to be here today.
Excellent. Likewise. I'm looking forward to this one. To kick us off, and for people listening and watching to kind of find out a little bit more about you, if we were meeting in person today, where would you take me and what would you order to drink?
Good question. I think we're going on a hike in nature.
I love that.
And yeah, I think a green tea would be good, like in a thermos. Make sure it's still, good temp.
Excellent. Well, I'll raise a metaphorical green tea in a thermos on a nature walk to you to cheer you on for the rest of this recording.
Okay.
And similar kind of theme, is there something on your desk or near you or in your usual working space, if you're not there right now, that gives a little kind of insight into who you are?
Oh, excellent question. Ironically, I think it's might be my keyboard. I look at it rather often. I find myself, um, in front of my computer quite a lot. And most and foremost, I think my laptop. I think my
Hmm.
laptop is one of the most instrumental items that I possess. I think it, is more or less of a crux to my existence.
Right. And is this a laptop that's been with you for a long while? Like, have you kind of got that bond that we often have with sort of personal pieces of tech like that?
Oh, I like that. Yeah, sure. Well, I still own the one that I have that bond with. I've had it since undergrad, it's, I'm sure, I'm certain that it's not OS supported. So unfortunately I had to, kind of face things through. Yeah, I got one of the most recent models just to make sure that everything's, moving and grooving and I can do, and review all the types of work that, come across my desk. So yeah, it's a newer model, but I still feel very good about it. I still feel, it's same but different, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I get that completely. And with that idea of, sort of having the physical touch with the laptop and the bond that we get with our tech that we use umpteen times a day, every single day, when was the last time you used pen and paper?
Oh, nice. Yeah, sure. Well, so I used pen and paper, last week to make a manual list and do some doodles.
Oh, I love it. I'm all for doodling.
Yeah.
In fact, if you saw my pad that I've got with me right now, you'd see that it is maybe 85% doodles and about 15% actual notes that I need to make. But there's something about doodling that just, in a weird way, helps me focus.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, they're just, little patterns, little, glyphs and things and little doodads and, some type and I would say it's more of a stream of consciousness. Stream of
Right.
consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Do you ever look back at the notes that you've made or the doodles that you've gone, in the past and think either I have no idea what that means as a note. Like, I wrote that for me to make sure I don't forget something, and I look at it now and I've got no idea what it means. Or do you look at those doodles and go, wow, I would love to kind of work that up into some personal art project or something a little bit bigger?
Yeah, absolutely. So both notes and doodles are full total recall. I have an archive of majority of my sketchbooks that I've done through God knows how many years. They're on my bookshelf. So yeah, I can most certainly open up any one of them and give you the point in time in which it A took place, and then B, what the list means, and the doodles, the different drawings. I have an ongoing sort of multiples project, more on the fine art side of things. There are these, painting, sketching, abstract, avant-garde, somewhat patterns that I do. It's a very particular style. It's geometric. Sometimes it's cubes. Sometimes it's pyramids and triangles, sometimes it's circles, but they're all relatively similar motif and, fall within the same syntax and graphic family, if you may. So at some point in the future, I certainly would like to, do a complete retrospect, go through them, and I'm not entirely sure if I'd love to refine them. I'd love to more so just do maybe something with them that makes it into one like, because they're a series, and I don't want them to be flat necessarily, but I also don't want to make like a mega poster.
Mm.
So I don't know. It's still it's like one of those things. I'll tell you. It will tell me what it wants to be when the time is right.
I love it. I love it. And I love when I love hearing that. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here because I don't think I'm particularly joined by my fellow creatives in saying that I love it when a client says that. Because typically, I think most creatives feel like when a client says, "I'll know what I want when I see it," they feel like that's the death knell of the project, right? Like, oh my God, I've got an indecisive client that can't articulate what their needs are. But that to me is the stepping stone of a client saying, I need your help. I know my business, my product, my service, whatever it is. I just don't know how to describe what it is I want or what it is I'm trying to get you to help me with. And so that is almost, in a way, it's almost like permission for me to step in and say, okay, well, then let's figure this out together. Let's figure out how to communicate this. Um, so I tend to look at that when a client says that. I tend to look at that with a fondness. Um, Having said that, I do understand the initial sort of creative frustration of hearing that from a client. Now, the difference is you're saying that about your own work, and I love that because that's almost kind of giving yourself permission to just let your brain go, let your creativity go wherever it wants to go, and you know that you'll catch up with it when the time is right.
Yeah, it resonates actually very well. I think it speaks directly to how design methodologies are structured, like the good old-fashioned double diamond, where you kind of diverge and converge. So the diverge part is the super fun part, the part where you get to let your imagination roam free. You do all these fun explorations and studies and different use cases and start really seeing what's possible. And then, of course, the converge. The converge is kind of a not kind of. I mean, I think it's a very different hat. It's a hat where you start filtering through things, right? And where you start, pressure testing things. So that's where you need to start getting a little more decisive. So I think that process is really beautiful in general. From just kind of like a thinking standpoint and like a process keeping standpoint, because I do think we all do it to an extent. It's just as designers or creatives and people in creative vocations, by proxy, just live and breathe it quite literally every day.
Mm. You mentioned in there, and also at the beginning when I said about where would we meet, you said about going for a walk, and you mentioned in there about being out in the wild, the creative wilds. Like, is nature a big thing for you? Is that a big part of life for you?
Yeah, I actually miss the mountains quite a lot. I currently live in Miami, right? But I did spend about 6 years in Denver. And I did, after multiple and multiple years, find out in retrospect, and by trying other things, that the woods and the mountains are more certainly my happy place.
Mm. There's something magical about a woods, walking through a woods. Yeah.
You bet, absolutely, yeah, and especially in the mountains too. Like, I mean, the flats are fine as well. I mean, I'm not gonna get too picky, but just like the vantage points and all of the beautiful landscapes that you get, that every day can kind of feel like National Geographic when you're out in the wild.
Mm. So take us, if you go right way back to the beginning of your career, take the next few minutes to kind of bullet point us from there to where you are now. Take us through the woodland journey that is your career. You don't have to hit every tree along the way, but just like the kind of key milestones that mean something for you throughout that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's quite the question. I'd actually love that. Actually love that very much. So I think we can start at me moving to New York from Denver. I moved to New
Sure.
York from Denver to go to School of Visual Arts. At 21, I went for the Master of Professional Studies in Branding program, which is ran and operated by Debbie Millman. Studied there for about a year. During that time, I also worked full time. It's a night-based program for working professionals, so that was the very catalyst based moment for my career and for me getting out into the world, so to speak. So yeah, I was working as a contractor at different places, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then I was going to class from 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. and onwards with homework and student, group assignments and all the other fun things like freelance and whatnot. So yeah, that was quite a pivotal time in my like just overall in my life. So I did that for a calendar year straight from August to August. It was an incredible experience. Then upon graduating, 2 weeks out, I interviewed at ESPN. I got hired there as a designer level two. So that was really cool. Got to work on the super sign in Times Square. Got to work on all sorts of different fun campaigns and brand partnerships with places like Amazon and so on and so forth, and MLB and X Games and all the other fun stuff. So I was there for 5 years. Then I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try something entirely different. So I went to JP Morgan. I was at JP Morgan for about 3.5 years. It was very interesting and instrumental, and I feel like in my creative development, to see how other different industries work. Just because I feel like as a creative, and certainly as a designer or somebody working in advertising or anything that has like a business application, you start noticing things that you might have not been exposed to before when you work for different I wouldn't call them clients, I guess companies, right? When you're in different structures of that nature. So I got to learn a lot about how finance works. I got a lot to learn a lot about how institutional organizations of that nature work. It was incredible. I mean, it was a very well, it was a entirely different side of the world for me, so to speak, after spending so much time in entertainment and just conventional brand strategy and, brand design services, like devising brand systems and other stuff for like clients or, I did some of that at ESPN to an extent as well. So yeah, I went to JP Morgan and worked in design systems and all sorts of fun campaigns and brand launches and things of that nature. That was very unique. Other pivotal moments. So I was a creative lead on the Accenture account at a WPP agency called Group SJR. That's where I got to learn a lot about how consultancies work. Granted, I was working on Accenture for the most part. So that was a very fun time. It was eye-opening in terms of how they, their way of work and their way of leading business and understanding where you as an agency creative fit into their org in terms of like, working with the clients. So that was a different kind of relationship because up until then I was mostly in-house. In-house agencies, granted, but still nonetheless, we were all under the same umbrella. Here's where there was like, a degree of separation, and it still felt very much like I was an integral part of their team in terms of like, how we were developing campaigns for them, how we were working on different scopes of work for them over my tenure at the agency. But still, nonetheless, yeah, it was very eye-opening. It taught me a lot of things about agency life too. I thought that was a very unique experience. Then after that, I went on to work as an ACD. That's where I made my leap into more. Well, I still led and I still had oversight, but I was a senior art director formally at the WPP shop. So I was reviewing work, but also making the work, player coach type situation. But I was, also working a lot of new business, so it was even split, reviewing and working. When I went to a consultancy called V Shift, we worked on a lot of really cool stuff for this healthcare client. That was also another very interesting pivotal moment, just to see how the healthcare industry works, just to get a more well-rounded perspective on how, different businesses work. Because in any case, at that point, what I've learned that far, that every business that you work for ultimately, like even creatively and operationally, inherently runs just like the work that they do. So, you know, ESPN runs and works and operates like entertainment and sports. Makes sense? So on and so forth through all the other touch points. I mean, it was very fascinating at this point, even from like a cultural anthropology standpoint, just observing the day to day and observing like how the interaction patterns go and how the work goes and how like the work talks to the client, how the work talks to the consumer or patient in case of healthcare, right?
Mhm.
So it also the vernacular and the vocabulary. I find it all very fascinating. And I mean, I think a creative career can definitely, teach you a lot about the world that way. Because at any point, like you got to be not the subject matter expert in the field and like have all the answers, but you're immersed in it. Like you're a part of it. You have to like credibly and reputably and also, clear and concisely, visually communicate all of the things that the business does in terms of like design, advertising, and all the other touch points of whatever that might be from a brief standpoint. So I think it's really amazing.
I love that. What an amazing variety. What an amazing breadth of experience from in-house to agency to from industry. Sort of hopping as well from entertainment through to healthcare through to finance. Like, there's so much in there, and I wonder if as where you are in your career now, do you lean on the fact that you have all of those experience of all those differences? Like, how does that play into your day to day now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it plays directly into understanding like the lay of the land, kind of getting a bird's eye perspective on a lot of things. So versus seeing things from one vantage point, you get to see things from more of like a 360 as much as you can. Granted, um, what do they say? The human eye, like your eye sees what's in front of you because you got two eyes. There's a dead spot, but your brain makes up what's in the dead spot. So same with like pretty much anything. Like you think you like kind of know everything and be twisted and turn it and you find new things. It's like going 2 or 3 rounds over the project and realizing, oh, okay, well, there were still mistakes. Great. So it's one of those things. It just gives you like gives you a better zoom lens, and gives you
Mm,
an opportunity to move the artboard around, but you're not necessarily, there's always moving pieces involved.
right, for sure. And when you think about the difference between in-house agency and more traditional agency, do you have a preference for a working environment?
I think in-house, I do stand by that after about 14 years in. I think because you then get to focus on one particular client. Granted, you're
Mm,
in-house, and then that's the company, but like one step removed, like you're only serving one brand, right? Or it might be a master brand that owns multiple brands, but they're all still within the same family. So it lends itself well to like getting really narrow and getting really focused and seeing exactly like the breadth of work you can do within that particular vertical. Don't get me wrong, like the agency structure and agency work is awesome. I mean, it's just I don't think I do enjoy it. It's just not entirely my favorite,
mm.
because you tend to get a more of like a scattershot. It's good for informing like cross-pollinating projects and seeing how like this works and how that works. Maybe there's a piece of this that I can reverse engineer into that. Maybe there's something that I can somebody from a leadership standpoint who I can pull from this account into this new project that's kicking off just because I've seen him perform well in that type of context. So again, that's where it comes back to like a well-rounded perspective. But then after accumulating all this knowledge and, after learning all these things and doing all these findings, I mean, I think you might have seen I'm back at JPMC.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So is that like to get back to that place, like was there a draw to get back into that world? Was that always a yeah, I'm gonna have this little detour over here and experience this, but I'm gonna make sure I come back here.
Not necessarily. It happened very organically. I didn't necessarily plan for it on, there wasn't like, some master plan that I hatched. During COVID, I got approached by WPP, and they frankly made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I wanted to learn new things and see what the agency life was about. So that's when I made the departure from JPMC originally. Since then, as I mentioned, I worked for, a plethora of clients for Group SGR at WPP. I've worked at a consultancy. I worked as a freelancer for a hot minute, mostly with Excel Sports Management. They manage tier one athletes like Tiger Woods, Eli Manning, and half the NBA, most likely half the NFL. I mean, it's a big chunk of the NFL. So all of these routes have been fascinating. After my freelance stint, I did work as a creative director at Analytic Partners. It's a world-leading data science consultancy, so I got to dive into that part of the world as well. So all in all of those, after that journey, it's not necessarily something that I planned. It all happened just, like I mentioned, organically. It all happened step by step, and I feel like the pieces just kind of fell into the right places, right?
Yeah, I love it when that happens. Hi. If what we're talking about in this episode is resonating with you, the challenges faced are the ones that are in front of you right now, the path they've taken is your dream career path, whatever it may be, stick around until the end of this episode to find out how you can work directly with me to level up your leadership skills. Get 30 years worth of experience downloaded into your skill set in just 4 weeks. At the same time, meet amazing other design leaders as part of your cohort. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the end. So when you think about all the different places, that you've talked about and the different aspects of everything and all of those milestones and all of the bits and pieces that you haven't covered, is there a point in time that you would go back to the age that you were then, but knowing what you know now? And if there is, what would you say to yourself?
Excellent. Yeah, that's very good. I like that question quite a lot. Um, I think I'm 15 and I'm telling myself I'm doing the right choice because that's when I made up my mind that I would like to pursue a creative career.
And would it simply be you're doing the right thing? Just that little bit of word of encouragement?
Yeah, I think it's just vague and abstract enough just to be like totally something I would say.
Right,
Like
right.
just like very very cryptic, like kind of like a one of those psychological indie film kind of things.
I love that. And bear with me on this one. This is the first time I'm trying this, but if
Okay.
you now think of yourself retired, and enjoying retirement, having had a full career, what would that version of you say to you as you are right now?
Yeah, keep going, keep moving, keep doing the thing.
Just keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love that. I
yeah,
love the positivity.
you're doing the right thing. Keep going.
The Whenever I speak with you, I always have an overriding sense of positivity from you. Like you are always um, super upbeat. You're always seeing the route forward and supportive and caring. And I wonder, you know, I feel sure that that has always been a part of you. And I wonder if that's how the Miami Ad School came about. Like, how did that start? How did you get involved with that? Where was the drive for you in that?
Absolutely. Oh, that is an excellent question. So it actually happened very organically too. Like all of these things, like the things that I plan and the things I try very, very hard at. Like, I mean, aside from the creative work, like the stuff that trajectories and all of these, like, grandiose plans, like that never works. Like, I don't know if it's like one of those movie kind of things where you're just kind of like, oh, and then wasn't expecting this, but then like this happened. Oh, wow.
Right.
Mysterious pause.
Right.
QB roll. Um,
Right.
training montage.
right? Dan in silhouette against a bright blue background. I love it.
Yeah, just like, yeah. But yeah, the Miami Art School thing happened extremely organically. It's a very interesting story. So I was the president of AIGA Miami for about 2 years. So that was incredibly awesome. That was a very, instrumental, also one of the most instrumental times in my leadership development and career overall. It's a nonprofit, so it was also very near and dear, helping fellow creatives. It was an amazing time. But we were putting on this event, and Miami Art School was a partner. We did a partnership with the One Club. We did and also as one of the partners, we had AAF, American Advertising Federation, and Miami Art School came through as a sponsoring partner as well. So that was really cool. And actually at the event, when we were doing the panel and everything was fine and dandy, nice and complete, I got approached. I got a couple of introductions, and we scheduled a follow-up meeting, and we spoke about sort of my aspirations for teaching, and if I had any appetite for the program, and writing the boot camp, so to speak. So it was awesome. Yeah. I obviously said yes.
Yeah,
That was about what, a year and a half ago. I've been at it for a year and a half ago teaching now. That time flies.
fantastic. And what's the like? I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to know what your answer is here, or at least the kind of crux of your answer. But what's the draw for you? Like, having been doing this now for a year and a half, like, what's the thing that keeps you going with this?
Oh, 100% helping others. It's like just giving them the answers that wouldn't have, giving them the answers to the questions that they have, obviously, and giving them the answers they wouldn't have without the experience or the expertise. Because the aim of the program is to help them become effective leaders and help them become, good working counterparts for their business partners, be that in a sense
Mm,
with like account or the client, or even like inspiring their team and working well with others, and day-to-day things. Like it can be as simple as that. But I feel like those are things that sometimes people in creative roles get somewhat like placed into, and then have to really gun and run and pick up on the spot, and they're tough. They're not easy things. Like, you're going from a business of artifacts into a business of people. Those
mm,
are very different. They're similar, but like worlds apart. It's I teach them about relationship keeping. I think that's awesome. How to play well with others, and how to understand how you're ultimately a part of a larger thing. As a creative director, for your team, because all of your decisions have other different kinds of ramifications and implications once you step into a leadership role. So it's very important for me to teach them how to do the right thing well, right?
mm. Absolutely. And like, you're so right. When I launched my course, I had known for years that, the creative industries, you go in, and more often than not, you have your mind set on achieving a certain goal, a certain level, within your career. That might not be your end goal, but maybe it's a means to your end goal, which is something else. But more often than not, creatives are focused on, okay, I want to get to this point. Often it's CD level, or whatever the equivalent is in your creative discipline. And so they focus on this, and they work and they work and they work and they work and they work. And then the day that they get it, brilliant, congratulations, confetti. Now here is a whole bunch of responsibilities that no one has ever trained you for. Like, you've
Much.
gone to college or whatever for your craft. You've honed your craft over the years, working your way up. But now suddenly you're in the hot seat, and you've got to deal with personnel issues and management, and empathetical approach to these problems that people are coming to you with, that are not, hey, this logo doesn't pop. It's, I'm having trouble at home and it's impacting my work. What do I do? Like, there's a whole host of stuff. And the more that I talk to people about this from other industries, the more that I found out that it's in every industry. Like, it doesn't
Mm,
matter what corner of the world you're from, this is never something that is taught. So I think the more places there are that are doing this kind of thing, like your boot camp, that help people see, like I put it, as a human to human a kind of approach to leadership, the better off we're going to be overall, because we are all human. We all have similar days, good days, bad days. We all have similar dreams, goals, hopes, aspirations, And so to understand that and then to start spotting that in the people that you are helping by leading, um, I think is really crucial. When you think about everything from ESPN to JP Morgan to Miami Ad School to working in-house agency, a proper sort of traditional agency, not proper, traditional agency, um, is there a piece of work or a project that you're most proud of?
Oof. That is an extremely difficult question. Can I
Which is
phone
your favorite child?
can I phone a
Basically is
friend?
that question.
Can I phone can I phone a friend?
Right, yeah.
Is this multiple choice?
Right, yeah. Yeah, it can be, yeah.
I don't know. It depends on. I don't think there's like a one like big time ultimate favorite project. There's like a couple of them, and I think I do love my children all the same. If you want to say that, put it that way. It's like um, and I love all of them for different reasons. Like some were awesome teamwork, and I was just so thrilled to be a part of it. And it was like an amazing client. Some of them I got to like really do breakthrough work and do some of the stuff that I didn't think was possible. Earlier on in my career at like ESPN doing their entertainment work, like that's one of those examples where I'm like, okay, well, I never in my life thought I'd be working on broadcast graphics that I get to see pretty much on every other screen in every other room. So I didn't know that. That was a very meaningful experience. Just at the onset of my career too, that just kind of blew my mind. I was like, I didn't know, I didn't know that was possible even. So that was very unique. So it's a particular scope of work I think is like kind of stands out in that way because it's like your first love. It's like
Mm,
yeah.
mm,
Um, so a lot of the projects in that vertical fall into that category. But I think overall, if I were to pick one and it were to be the only one and number one, um, launch of JP Morgan US Wealth Management during COVID.
mm,
That just entirely different plane of work, entirely different level of execution, across the board, everything completely 360, from strategy to brand guidelines to use cases, applications, in branch activations, and overseeing production for all that. And I was an art director on that particular scope of work, an art director in a design sense, not an advertising sense. So I was
mm,
working a lot with our external agency partners and overseeing implementation of what we, established as a core brand foundation, and making sure that everything's getting implemented and made right. That was, my first big swan dive into creative oversight. I mean, granted, still did quite a lot of that in different instances at ESPN. When you start versioning things and working on broader campaigns, there's that form of collaboration as well. But that's
mm,
not anywhere close to an extent where I did it at JPMC. Granted, it was also during COVID. It was like from
mm,
home, and we're launching a new brand for it was fascinating. And
mm,
I'm rather fond of the work. It taught me it so much. I'm extremely grateful for that particular experience. I think it's one of my favorites due to the nature of the collaboration and like all of the parties involved. It also taught me quite a lot about how to do and practice it well. In terms of um, it taught me how to work well with others. It taught me how to consider
mm,
all of the voices in the room and how to get things, um, done well.
mm. Yeah, I can see I can see why you're picking that one. There is so much to it. There's so many facets to it. So it's a really great example. Thank you for sharing. Um, Flipping that whole point of view slightly, is there a point in time, either a decision or a project or something that didn't go quite according to plan, and what did you learn from that?
Good question. Okay. There were a few instances throughout my career where I wasn't able to bring in leadership early on into a project for alignment on either strategy or creative. There were, just based on like A, timing, and B, based on availability and all of the other things that are outside of your, frankly, area of control.
Mm,
Based on timelines, we had to keep moving. We had to keep making things, happen. Make sure we cross the finish line.
mm,
So at the big reveal, things didn't go so well.
right. So
So
what was your sort of takeaway from that?
if you have to delay the work and it becomes an issue of alignment, delay the work, or find an alternative route. You got to find alignment. It's extremely important to get to get um, alignment and executive approval, so to speak, before you start, going a little too far too fast.
Mm, yeah, much easier to course correct on the way than refit afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Because we did
I've
end up
been
doing
there.
that. Everything ended up working. Everything was fine.
Right,
Everybody's as happy as they can be.
right,
Um,
right.
you bet.
And so flipping back from that, then coming back to the more positive, what outside of work are you most proud of?
Um, I'm proud of my parents' dog because he's the best dog that ever walked this earth.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, he's very kind to my mother, and that means the world to me.
Oh, I love that. That's such a lovely answer. Um, and will you send me a picture of the dog so at this point we can kind of cut a photo in on the video version of this podcast? I would love
Okay,
that.
sure, yeah. Okay, yeah. No,
Excellent.
you
Okay,
got it.
so if you're listening to the audio only version of this, head to YouTube, search for awaiting approval. You'll find this episode, and then you'll be able to see the picture of the dog in all of their glory. Um, when you when you think about the rate that everything is changing in across the creative industries with new tech emerging, but also all the other challenges around the world, right? Like the global recession that's happening, the wars everywhere, the blah 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 blah. Like we're right at the bottom of that 10-year cycle right now. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing the creative industries, and how do you think we're going to handle that?
Things are getting much faster, and AI is not as good as people make it out to be.
And how do you like when you think about the challenges? Let's take AI for example. That the challenge that AI poses, albeit it's not as I agree with you. It's nowhere near
Hmm.
the level of operation that the fear is like if the fear of the level of operation is here, the actual level of operation is kind of down here.
Yeah, yeah, like maybe like out of frame, even like
Right, right,
under the table. Like I'm genuinely
right.
underwhelmed. Like I mean, I'm sure like in some isolated instances, it's like when they debut and premiere video games, they give you like this rendered out preview that's like all like amazing and cinematic, and then you get the actual game when it's like it looks like PlayStation 2.
It's right, something off of a ZX Spectrum, right? Yeah,
Right, if you're lucky. If you're lucky.
right. Yeah. So, but I mean, the thing with AI, I guess, is right now it's great at replicating a process, and it will understand that process. It doesn't understand the output, right? But it understands the process, and it will self-improve that process over and over and over and over and over, which is something that we've not experienced before, right? We've gone through all sorts of different revolutions over over thousands of years, but we've never had one where the actual MacGuffin of the revolution is the thing that drives its own self improvement. And we've definitely never had a revolution that's happening in days rather than years. So, what do you think? What's your take on how the creative industries stays relevant, especially in terms of craft, as this tech gets better and better and better?
Huh. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think it's more about us as creatives and creatives in general. at this point, at least in the journey, being the ones who decides which jokes are funny. I think you're entirely correct about it replicating processes. It's extremely mechanical at this point right now. Like
Mm,
it feels like one of those like Victorian. It feels like a Victorian mechanism to an extent. Like if you compare contemporary mechanism, like an engine or anything of that nature, to a Victorian era engine or anything that has to do with mechanics or engineering, I think we're like in the Victorian part of the AI situation. Because it's like I said, it's very task oriented. As long as as long as you can tell it what to do precisely, and it'll replicate, like you said, everything. I think for like we're still responsible for the input. Like it's not self-generative. Like if you put it in the vacuum and kind of like let it run in the echo chamber, like I'm sure most people have seen that exercise where you tell it to replicate a photo and it just does this like horrendous, super scary thing. So it needs external stimuli. And I think in long term, over time, like we are responsible for giving it that external stimuli and that in form of input that um, goes beyond just prompting.
mm,
I mean, prompting is like in my understanding and like how I kind of see it, prompting is like giving it tasks or like defining the problem, right? But then you can also give it like reference images, you can give it materials, and you can like train it and inform it. So I think over time we'll be more responsible for like teaching it things rather than like asking it to do things. Because over time it'll become it'll become like you said, like genuine AI that can think for itself, and you don't have to like tweak every other thing like 5 or 6 times over until it's like passable.
mm. With that, with the rate of change and with the improvements in that, and with everything else that is going on, thinking of two groups of people, those that are just entering the industries right now, and those that have been in the industries for a while but have been out of work for a while. What's your one piece of advice for those two groups of people?
Focus narrow on what exactly on the area where you stand out. Like think about what makes you unique and think about how you can bring it to the world, right? Like I I think I don't think it would suit somebody in that position well to try to catch everything at once. I think if you can be like a specialist of sorts, that could very well position you for success. And I think once you start stepping into the world with your like true strength and with your area of expertise, and or like some particular skill or talent that you very much shine in, um you'll get into a territory where people will, for like a better words, gravitate towards you, or they will seek out somebody who does what you do because you're the only person who does that,
Mm,
or at least in that particular way.
mm, I like that. I've got one final question. It's the same question, the same final question that I ask every single guest of every single episode. Are you, Dan, still awaiting approval?
I don't know how to answer that, Adam. That meant to be philosophical. Like, is this one of is this one of the things I said earlier on the podcast? Like, yeah, you're doing well, you're doing great, keep going. Like, or like, you're making the right choice. Like, is it one of those? Like, how do I answer that? Like, I want to answer it like in 3 different ways, but I don't know which one's the one I want to go with. That's so funny. I love that so much. That's such a good question. Am I awaiting approval? Okay. I think in a way I am. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Good. I love that. Thank you. I really appreciate everyone that answers that question. And it's a different answer every single time. And I love that. Dan, this is your opportunity to let people know how to get in touch with you, what you've got going on, any events, products, services. The floor is yours.
Yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or, check out my website and see all these wonderful things we've been talking about. Worked with a lot of very talented teams, and I'd love to give them all a shout out as well. Yeah, overall, check out Miami Art School. I teach the creative director program there. It's great fun and will certainly give you an edge in your leadership track. So yeah. And for all those who are listening, also have a wonderful day, and I hope all things go great.
Thank you so much, Dan. I've really enjoyed this, and I know that people will get a lot out of this episode.
Thank you.
If today's conversation got you thinking about your own growth as a creative leader, then my program, Supercharge Creative Leaders, might well be the next step for you. It's a 4-week cohort designed to help those in leadership positions and those aspiring to be in the leadership positions to lead at a world-class level. You'll learn how to communicate with impact, grow your confidence, and lead teams that thrive, all without losing your creativity. It's a mix of pre-recorded video sessions, live Q&As with me and the rest of your cohort, and an incredible community of peers who will support you along the way. People who've already been through the course have gone on to win new roles, land promotions, get huge multi-million-dollar pitches, and they all put it down to the course and the confidence it gave them. So if you're ready to get noticed, get promoted, or finally step into that dream role, join the next cohort. Head to growwithadamjennings.com and sign up to Supercharged Creative Leaders. I can't wait to start working with you.